Well, New York City's migrant crisis has reached an eye-popping new milestone. There are actually now more people seeking asylum in our city shelters than there are homeless New Yorkers. Today, News 4's Melissa Russo got an...
That is an absolutely embarrassing statistic, and I think, if not un-American, anti-American. I mean, the fact that our cities are more willing to take care of illegal immigrants than they are to take care of its own citizens who are homeless and struggling, I think is an embarrassment to those politicians in those particular cities.
Well, yeah, it's no surprise, to be honest. Even before the immigrant crisis, America's been failing the homeless people for a while. So the fact that they're so proactive to take care of illegal immigrants while we've had a lingering issue like homelessness for forever is like, where are the priorities here?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're not willing to do anything for the homeless and then you're willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on housing, feeding, and clothing these illegals, I mean, what are you thinking? It's functionally the same thing, except for people who don't actually belong in this country, right?
You said
completely ridiculous.
You said hundreds of millions of dollars. This is only one deal with one hotel chain, and it's already in the hundreds of millions of dollars. We don't see all the other deals going on either. This is one deal with one hotel chain already at 200
Yeah, I mean,
million.
Cumulatively, it's probably in the multi-billions. You're right. I guess I meant more. I was thinking more on a per city basis. It's most likely in a couple hundred millions of dollars per city. But I mean, yeah, this is insane, and this is what people in these cities are voting for, right? I mean, if they want these policies to change, they need to change who they're voting for. And the unfortunate thing is, it's really all the blue politicians, right, in very blue cities that are doing this, and people in these cities hate Republicans in the red so much that they're just blindly voting blue regardless of what the policies are, and this is what we get as a result.
They're willing to hurt anyone who's in the path of their... I don't know if calling it an agenda is the correct term, but I don't really know what else to call it.
Yeah, I think that's a correct term to use.
It's very disappointing.
Exclusive look inside the first stop for new arrivals. We're talking about the Roosevelt Hotel Processing Center, Melissa.
Yeah, Natalie, walking into that large waiting room today at the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown, it was hard not to be struck by the magnitude of this migration crisis, shouldered almost entirely by the New York City taxpayers, but also...
I love how they're just glossing over the fact that it's a crisis in terms of just the sheer amount of people we're allowing in here illegally, and the fact that we're overlooking our own citizens to do so. And she's basically just glossing over, oh yeah, it's costing our taxpayers a bunch of money. The humanity, though, my heart.
I don't like that approach.
Where's the humanity and all of the other people that need help that we're prioritizing illegals for? I mean, what the hell?
Yes. No, that is a good point. And yeah, she did it so smoothly, I didn't even catch on to it for a second there, but you're completely correct. They are just overlooking the actual people suffering and are just like, no, but pay attention to the buzzwords. Tax money.
This is some of the most virtue signaling nonsense I've ever seen. It's like those people who go on the mission trips so they can feel good about themselves. I mean, That's kind of what I feel like listening to her talk.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I expect out of this news channel.
You're struck by the humanity.
So walking through these doors every day, more than 400 people per day.
It's one thing to hear the numbers. It's another to see today's newcomers all in one place. Little ones wiped out after walking for months to the border, then riding for days on a
illegally.
Bus. Leonardo.
Yeah, and again, they're trying to add emotion, right? And try to manipulate the story. Oh, let's show the children and make this very sad. When you see reporting like this, one of the things that goes around online a lot that I'm sure you see a lot is how people believe this illegal immigration wave is the Dems' way of trying to essentially buy or import new voters because their policies are becoming increasingly unfavorable with the native citizens of this country.
Right.
And when you see this kind of action and you see this kind of reporting, it really does make you feel like there is some credence to that. I'm not really into just sitting here and hypothesizing. I don't necessarily want to use the word conspiracy, but I'll use the word conspiracy for lack of a better word around these sorts of things. But it's hard not to think that when you're seeing such strong support of illegal people coming here and a push so hard to support this kind of behavior. I don't know how else to perceive that kind of behavior.
Well, right. Now, part of it, the word you brought up, you said emotional and manipulation. Well, one of those is true. This is an emotional scene. If I walk into this hotel lobby and I see close to 1,000 people who are clearly trying to escape a bad life in another country, and they came here and seek of it, I can't blame them. I don't blame these people for trying to find a better life, and I do have empathy for them. But I don't understand why I am being obligated to pay for this when I myself have issues that I need to take care of too. It's like, hey, we have homeless people. I would be fine with my tax-paying money going towards our homeless people. This is a whole different thing. Why are we obligated to take care of all of these people? When did that responsibility get passed on to us? Why? And why?
And that's the thing that's obnoxious too. You go to all these cities and they're saying, oh, don't worry, we'll do all this and it's not going to cost the taxpayers an extra cent. We're not raising taxes, blah, blah, blah. You saw this in Chicago. They're now running a huge budget deficit. They're talking about having to raise the property taxes there. And we're seeing that it is actually costing the taxpayers extra money. And just by the nature of the money is going towards illegals and not towards our own people who are hurting, that in itself is costing the American citizens and the American public money.
And then when you just draw question to it, you're all of a sudden called racist. Because it's like, no, I just want to understand, why am I paying for this when we have what I consider bigger problems going on than another country's issues? This is just the result of another country failing their people. So we're burdening that responsibility and risking failing our own people. Not even risking. We are failing many of our own people in lieu of taking care of people who are not our own. That, I'm not okay with that. But because I'm not okay with that, some people will go and now call me a racist. It has nothing to do with race.
I'll never understand why we're pushing for this as opposed to immigration reform. I don't think there's a single person in this country or in the world that thinks the U.S. immigration process is particularly good.
It's horrible.
And our green card process is good. It's utterly asinine the way it's set up. It's incredibly challenging for anybody to get through this process. Mm-hmm. We're importing some of the most talented students in the world to come be educated at our universities, and then we're sending them back to their countries because we say, oh, thanks for your money, but we don't want you here.
Right.
When every study on immigrants and entrepreneurship show that immigrants are net job creators typically, right? And that they are more likely to be entrepreneurs than native born people of our country. Mm-hmm. And just besides the fact, right, that you would want highly educated people to stay in this country. I mean, people say that a job from any student, any seat filled by an international student is a seat stolen from a native student,
or
which I just fundamentally disagree with.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, well, we can increase. There's lots of ways to fix that problem, but the other problem there is, how about we not lose that student? How about that international student who came and is doing great things? Let's retain that person. Let's incentivize them to stay here and help create a better America. You can also look at other facets, though, where, military recruitment numbers are dropping. Hey, why couldn't that be a realistic process for people coming and becoming legal citizens? Like, hey, do you speak English? Are you willing to possibly enlist in the military? That's already a program that exists. We take people in. We can just expand that program. And
Interesting.
Yeah, the military actually has, at least from what I recall, the military was having pretty decent success with this. This is why you have such a large number of Filipinos in the military, among other things. Like, it's because there are recruitment practices set up where we pull people in from other countries and induct them in through the military. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually great. That's great. They still have to go through boot camp. They still have to do all of the basic requirements. They don't get any special treatment once they're in. So it's not.
And you're going through a process,
Yes.
as opposed to just coming here undocumented, illegally, not paying taxes, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And absorbing resources,
Yeah.
right? You are contributing.
Yeah, they have to go through a whole, they still have to go through a background check, all that fun stuff. I'm just saying, there are creative solutions everywhere. Just giving hotels hundreds of millions of dollars and saying, here, house these immigrants. It's like, how's that fixing anything? Where are they, what?
Yeah, I think
you're gonna somehow give them citizenship in the few months these hotels are gonna house these people? Like, that's not what's gonna happen. What's going to happen is you're going to see power vacuums and stuff start forming. You're going to see gangs start forming in these hotel chains. There's no telling where it's going to go from here.
I think the core of this, among other issues, to what you were talking about previously, of when you call things out, you're called names and labeled XYZ, is that for whatever reason, a lot of people are incapable of understanding that multiple things can be true simultaneously. These people can be in unfortunate situations, and you can have empathy for that, but you can also feel that it is not your obligation or requirement to spend money and the resources of this country on aiding these people when there are plenty of people in our own country that need our aid, and who at the very least want to pursue a more legal way and process to aiding people and allowing people into this country versus just saying, hey, screw it, we're just going to ignore this entire process.
Oh, that's
Okay.
so much better now. Oh my God, that's so much. Dude, that is so much better. But yes.
All right, you good? I'm going to click resume in the video.
Yep.
From Venezuela says his kids are happy to be here after crossing so many
I'm sure they are. Who wouldn't be?
rivers and rocks in the jungle. And to already have a new pair of shoes.
Breaks a little bit, and I have these conflicting feelings.
Deputy Mayor Ann Williams.
Yeah, so notice how they cut out what her conflicting feelings are. I mean, this is basically just a 3-minute propaganda video. Most likely people are upset about how much money and resources is going to the migrant thing, and so they thought, hey, let's pull together an emotional, heartstring pulling piece showing the children and all of that to try to win people over and show them how much good this is doing.
What I feel they're trying to do here is they're trying to make it seem like it's common sense that you would agree. Because if you don't agree with what's going on here, then you're just a bad person. Look at the children
You hate
suffering.
children, right?
Yeah, you hate these kids, right? That's why you don't want to support them? It's like, no, I'm sorry, but I would rather support our homeless veterans because they did something for our country. You know? Sorry, but that's just where my loyalties lie.
Or the victims of natural disasters, or the single parent whose spouse died, right, and has to take care of their kids. Plenty of people in this country.
How about instead
need the aid, right?
Yeah. How about instead of
the struggling students that are going to a overpriced university because college is way too darn expensive, but you need a degree for most people in order to better your situation, right? I mean, there's a plethora of different ways we could use this money.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, oh, you care about kids so much? How about this? How about give me a bit of my money back, and then let me just have enough money to where I can afford my own children? Because right now I can't. It is really difficult to afford my own children. You know?
Yeah, well, the idea of your own children, Nate does not have any kids yet, fortunately for everybody.
That I know of. But the other the other part is like, you know, later on in life, I would love to have money where I can adopt. There's tons of kids in orphanages that I do care about. I don't have money to adopt. You know how much money it costs to adopt in some place just to get the prerequisites to adopt? It's ridiculous. 5-digit numbers just to qualify for adoption.
I actually did not know that.
Yes, yet alone, we look at this and we're told that we're a bad person because these people who illegally traveled into our country, knowingly traveled into our own country, we're expected to give them money. No, I'd rather go adopt my own child. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's very. I don't see how you can think you have the moral high ground when you're sitting there saying that a better use of our country's resources and taxpayer resources is to help illegals versus its own citizens.
Yeah.
Williams Isom says she's proud of the care the city is offering, but sad that it's unsustainable. Over the weekend, the city reached a critical tipping point for their already jam-packed shelters. The 49,700 homeless New Yorkers in shelter now outnumbered by 50,000 asylum seekers.
I'm just going to say, when I see these numbers, this is giving me flashbacks to Katrina. We had shelters reaching near capacity, and when they're reaching near capacity, not even at capacity yet, you still have near lawlessness. You have lots of issues when it comes to regulating or enforcing anything, because again, what are you going to do if someone is breaking the law? And like, what do? You have no legal justification because they are here illegally. And these cities aren't going to deport them. So you have people knowingly like breaking laws. This just looks to me like
and even if you do arrest them, right, that's just compounding use of government resources.
Yeah, like I said, this is just going to create a massive runaway effect where we're actually creating more victims. Like, you can't tell me people are not being victimized and exploited within these little ecosystems that are popping up in these shelters now.
For sure.
I won't believe anyone telling me otherwise. Yeah, that's
right now,
what worries
the city
me.
is taking care of close to 100,000 people in this system with no end in sight.
We've done so many vaccinations at the arrival center here that we've almost exhausted the vaccine supplies that we've had.
The Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown offers medical and mental
health. What does
health
vaccines have to do with this?
To more than 800 families with children, and a way station of sorts for new arrivals who have the potential to depart from New York.
And to help you to establish your goals and to see what we can do as a city to help you get there, and to give you that critical period of time to enable us to get through to those friends or family members across the country.
The homeless people, though, they don't need any of that.
Yeah, so how come you're not doing this for the homeless people? Like
the homeless people, they don't need any of that help or those resources, right? It's only the illegals who need that help.
Yeah, there's, I think 2024 was close to 150,000 homeless people in New York. And note, that's only what was counted. That's only what was counted. A lot of homeless people are not going to the shelters and stuff.
And this, for everyone watching, this is a 1-year-old video as well, right? So things are probably even worse now.
Yeah.
And then to rebook you so that you don't have to enter our city system.
But many migrants don't have friends or family here, and the city is not saying how many of the roughly 400 who come in each day have been rerouted somewhere else.
I became a citizen since 1980. I didn't come that way. I passed through the right channel. Why don't them pass through?
You see what I see right here? This woman? This is an American. She earned it. She did it. She did it the right way. She didn't become a burden to taxpayers. She didn't do it illegally. This is an American.
Yeah, I mean, this is just spitting on the face of everyone like her, like my ancestors, right?
Exactly.
Or maybe my ancestors is a little bit dramatic sounding of a word, but my family who came over legally, and these people are just saying F it, right? And actually, again, it's not really even on these people. It's our government's just saying, all right, screw it, we'll just let them in, forget the process. It applies to some people, but not to others.
Mm-hmm.
The right channel. They should secure the border.
New Yorkers concerned and surprised by news of the tipping point, the burden almost entirely on city taxpayers.
It's surprising because I feel like maybe it's kind of happened very quickly, and the homeless crisis has been prevalent for a long time, so it sounds like it's a big issue and they need to figure out what to do.
After 1 month here, Ava says they've given her everything she needs for her 3-month-old daughter. Her husband Elkin says the treatment has been excellent. He says
I see this guy. He looks able-bodied. He looks young. He looks healthy. He looks like he's got a family he can support. This type of person, I get it. Like, maybe we can find some place for him, get him streamlined in some process, get him some skills, and figure out what he can do. But it's the capacity that needs adjustment. I'm fine with, some people coming over like this and getting integrated in a different process. 400 a day? No. No.
Just for this one facility, right? I mean, it's probably much more than that.
Yeah, and it's probably gotten worse now, because again, a year old.
For sure.
But yeah, like there can be, we can acquire a lot of people to help us.
Yeah, and so to be clear, right, neither Nate and I are anti-immigration. I think it's necessary, especially for Western countries that are having lower birth rates, right? So your population in these Western developing countries is actually going to decline ex-immigration. That's just the stats of the birth rates and birth to death ratio. So it's important and it's necessary, but there's a way to do it and a wrong way to do it.
Says we appreciate the mayor of the city of New York.
And the asylum seekers that we stopped randomly there outside the Roosevelt Hotel on this.
Notice I didn't see them interview any actual homeless people for their opinion about the situation.
Yep.
Street, all giving excellent reviews of the care.
Who cares about the review? I mean, seriously.
They're getting today. That has not always been the case in the past year or so. The City and Legal Aid Society are in talks right now as the mayor's office and the city are preparing to ask a court to give them more flexibility in the right to shelter. David?
What does more flexibility mean in this context? More funding or more... Like, what I'm concerned about there is, does that mean it gives them more authority to force places to pick up accommodations like this?
I'm not sure. I imagine there's probably some limitations around how they can spend capital and for these circumstances, but I don't know the details.
Interesting.
So this was 1 year ago. And if you flip to today, over the weekend, this tweet came out by John Lefebvre about how that particular hotel, there was an agreement signed with the Pakistan government where the city of New York is paying $220 million to the Pakistan government to house illegal immigrants. It's unclear, I think, the specifics of this particular contract because this just came out, I think, yesterday. And as you can see here, Vivek clearly not particularly happy about this. And I think this is one among many things that Vivek is going to, tackle as part of the Doge program. I'm hoping this is 220 for 3 years as opposed to 220 a year. Because not that either is good, but one is clearly better than the other.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see here on the Economic Times, they reported a little bit further that this was part of... Well, actually, it was in the original tweet, but part of a $1.1 billion IMF bailout package. So it's basically just funneling money to the Pakistani government to help bail them out of their debt.
Yeah, and I'm doing some math here. Like, let's just say it's $220 million for 3 years. So that is the most, I would say, beneficial I can make it sound, or that's the most positive I can make it sound there. It's only 1,200 rooms. 1,200 rooms. Okay, so that at most is what, 1,200 families? Or are you going to be putting more than one family per room in there? That's not humane at that point. So
Well, I don't think it's legal either.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's legal because these people aren't here legally.
Well,
I'm just saying.
The laws...
They're doing some shady stuff. Anyway, because like, let's say you put one family in there legally, there's nothing stopping that family from allowing another family to live there for money. Like, stuff like that is going to happen. What, you think they're going to have people constantly patrolling these hotel rooms, making sure like they're enforcing living standards? No, that's not what's going to happen.
Of course not.
So, but my point still being is $220 million for 1,200 rooms. That's the
really
best.
Not a lot when you think about it.
No, that's my whole point. I am thinking about it. That's my entire point here. Yeah. 220 million, even if it is for 3 years. I'm sorry, but that's only 1,200 rooms.
It's like $73 million a year for 1,200 rooms.
I'll rent my apartment out. I'll go buy an apartment right now and rent them out at that rate because you ROI.
So much real estate.
The ROI is insane. So like, even if this was well thought out, 220 million sounds like they're overpaying. Shouldn't they be getting a discount if this is a part of a bailout?
Well, yeah. So one, this is actually only the lease part, so it's costing them more because that's just to have the rooms, right? At least the way this is written, where it's to rent the hotel, so you're paying to lease the rooms, and then on top of that, there's the clothing, there's the food, lighting and gas might be included in this as possible, but
I doubt it'll be
de minimis relative to everything else, right? So, I think this.
The math,
I think, sums up the insanity of the situation perfectly.
The math isn't mathing to me. Like, they couldn't come up with a better budget. I know it's New York prices, but $73 million for 1,200 rooms per year. That's $500,000 approximately, a little under. So we're giving each family $500,000 in just living accommodations. And that's, again, me being the most optimistic about this.
Yeah.
Just give them a house at that point. Give them a house in the Midwest. Number one, it's permanent. Number two, it's half that cost. And number three, there's plenty of jobs for them in the Midwest. Like, we can use them. So, again, this is the best solution. Like, this tells me someone in charge is either corrupt or is just not paying attention to the numbers.
And this is what Doge is going to be there for. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. We haven't seen anything yet. They're technically not official because Trump isn't in office, but eliminating excess spending, or at least forcing people to be a little more disciplined with how they're spending money.
Yes. This is the epitome of government spending right here. This is Exhibit A of government spending.
Yeah, and so I think you saw this, right, over the Thanksgiving holiday a couple of days before, the new quote-unquote border czar came and made some public statements about how he's going to wrangle down this issue, which are rather comical.
If the border czar even does half of what he says he's going to do, I'm going to have a poster of him in my gym telling me to work out, otherwise he's going to deport me. Like, that's how I feel about this guy. Like, it's like, no, he's going to get me if I don't do these reps. Like, I need.
Here was reaction. A man that President Trump appointed to fix the border, Tom Homan, along with someone who, frankly, has played a very big role in bringing attention to this security disaster.
I just have to point out the duality of man. Look at the left. Look at the right. These are two very different people. One guy more happy than anything to be there. The other guy who's like, I just want to start working. I don't want to be here. I just want to start doing my job.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and they're going to be together all day tomorrow. Tom, you heard this mayor out there in Colorado.
Oh, that's why he's so happy. That's Greg Abbott. Of course he's happy. He's like, oh, finally we can get some support down here.
Yeah. Oh,
I want to get your reaction to it. And I want you to be clear about who has jurisdiction, the federal government or state and local governments. And if you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we...
U.S. versus Arizona? I think we should look that up. Arizona, United States Supreme Court
case.
established
that states may not implement their own immigration laws.
Okay. Well, he brought receipts.
This isn't even like an 100-year-old case. This is a 12-year-old case.
All right. Well, enough said then.
Mayor, we agree on he's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail because there's...
I have to process that.
Oh my God. This guy should start a battle rap career.
I was about to say, like, because there's been numerous times now I've watched this guy where he has just said things where there's no other word. It's just based. That is the correct terminology for it, where it's like, oh, well, okay then. He brought the receipts, he brought the argument, and he brought the consequences. I really want to see this guy in action.
It'll be interesting and entertaining,
right?
Regardless of the outcome.
There's a statute. It's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III, and what it says is it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear, we want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If he don't want to fix it, if he don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
So you will be going.
Yeah, I think his message was very clear there.
Yeah, regardless of if you like the person or not, I always respect a politician or someone in a political office who is willing to give a very direct answer to how they feel about things and what they want to accomplish versus dancing around it.
It was direct, but also transparent, which I think is big. Because there have been some who are good at being direct, but also kind of double speaking a bit. Like Bill Clinton was really good at that. He would be direct, but also indirect at the same time. This guy is just, no, we're going to show up. We're going to take away your illegals. And if you try to impede us in any way, we're going to arrest you. And then he also brought the statutes that say, here's everything that says we legally can do this and we can put you in jail for stopping us. And then he ties it off with, these are also presidential orders.
I'll be very curious because, Trump did a lot of blustering in his previous tenure as president. I'll be very curious if this time around, a lot of what he blustered about, he didn't actually necessarily lead to results. He pursued them, but for a variety of reasons, some a result of himself, some as a result of just political roadblocks.
Yep.
I don't think he actually achieved a lot of what he said he was going to achieve. He pursued it, but it was a lot of just talking and yelling and posturing.
He also had some people in his cabinet that were kind of duds.
Hopefully this time these people are able to actually pursue and achieve some of the goals that are being talked about and are being boasted about.
Yeah, I don't see Vivek or Ram becoming duds. I don't see Homan becoming a dud. The FBI director looks interesting. Some of the other picks, they look interesting. They look like some of these people are gonna rip, which will be great to see. I want to see change. I want to see a politician enter office. I think it's actually a good thing that he had a 4-year break to kind of gather and be more selective over his cabinet.
My main concern is that regardless of who he selects in his cabinet, what we saw in his prior tenure was a pretty high degree of lacking emotional stability. And what I would not want to see is someone pursuing something or believing in something, recommending something that Trump disagrees with. Maybe it goes against what he's pushing for, but would be in the best interest of the American people and or the actual overall mission that is trying to be pursued, and then him just firing those people out of pettiness, right? I mean, we saw this with, I think he was the Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, who he resigned, and then Trump threw a little temper tantrum and just fired him preemptively before the resignation tenure was up, and then we just didn't have a Secretary of Defense for several months. I mean, that's not the kind of behavior that you want from a president, and hopefully he's a little more measured this time around, because it doesn't matter who he puts around him if he just is going to fire them at the first hiccup that any of them face in the relationship.
Right. I think he's gotten better, because I noticed some of the people he's picked are people he's had beef with in the past, or he's had issues with in the past. So I feel like maybe he's gotten a bit better at controlling his ego. From other people, they said that Trump had a pretty big ego, and it was like you couldn't even make a joke about him because he would struggle with it. Now it seems like he's openly joking about himself now, which is a pretty big difference.
Yeah. I mean, we can only hope, right? All of us collectively.
I really hope. Really hope. That
There's nothing else we can do at this point, right? We're stuck with him for the next 40 years, and hopefully, particularly as it pertains to this migrant situation, we're able to see some resolution. And I do hope that actually these actions are also paired with just broader immigration reform to streamline that process, make it better,